I really struggled with ambition. I just didn't have any confidence. You can do more, you can push a bit more. Probably the proudest moment of my entire career. For some reason, someone deciding to publicly shame me, that was the moment where I suddenly got motivated. I can be more than what I currently am.
Simon Platt, a passionate and driven development head with over 8 years' experience managing dev teams of up to 120 people. Throughout his 12-year career in the games industry, he has shipped over 150 titles, including multiple #1 hits on both the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. He is proud to be part of many successful hits here at Kwalee, including Tens, Jetpack Jump, and Plank.
Right, Simon, thank you again for being here. I sort of looked at your career leading up to now, and it's full of things like professional wrestling and then moving into the games industry. You worked at Cost Cutter at a time.
Sure did.
And I looked all the way back to when you first joined Twitter. This was 2011. And you wrote, "Right, so what's all this about then?" And I thought that was a brilliant way to begin.
I hope you're not going to ask for context.
No context. But that attitude of, I suppose, exploration and also wanting to absorb what was going on around you and sort of listen and adapt to what environments you're in. Is that something you've taken into all these different things you've done and leading up to now? Have you always stayed curious?
Well, yeah, I mean, wrestling was the big one. Wrestling was the one where if you didn't listen up, you were like the 80% of people who go to training every week, don't take enough from it, don't progress at the speed that you want to progress. It's such a weird sport to be in because it's about communication, it's about trust, it's about feeling out the situation in any second, any minute, and adapting to those moments. And so it's very much about being aware of the audience, aware of your opponent, aware of your positioning. It's so wrestling opened so many doors for me emotionally more than anything else. Where I suddenly was coming out of my shell. I was suddenly confident in something I was doing. Really, up until that point, I didn't have much. Like, I wasn't enjoying school. I was okay at maths and English, but I didn't get enough out of it, and I certainly didn't have any confidence in it.
Okay.
With wrestling, suddenly I could be not me. I could be this persona, this character. I could shout and scream and fake it till you make it almost. I'm portraying this confidence, and then over time it builds and builds.
I sort of see this in gamers often as well, and those that enjoy sort of that sort of escapism. Myself being an actor, very similar. It's being someone else and sort of playing in this world and being this character. That was a real great escapism, as well as the gaming side of things. So growing up with your brothers, two brothers. Yeah. You mentioned in another interview that you played board games with them and things like this. What were the board games that you played?
Oh God, what were the board games we played? So we used to play a lot of Games Workshop games. So we played a lot of Warhammer. I remember Gorka Morka. This is a Warhammer board game. Orcs in trucks and bikes, sort of going at each other, Mad Max style, and clashing in the middle. I remember being given that by my brother on my birthday. He bought it for my birthday. Super exciting time. He then decided that him and my other brother are going to play it in front of me to teach me the rules.
Okay.
Fantastic. Fine. I sit there for a couple of hours. I watch it. It's then my turn to play. They've got no interest whatsoever. I literally never played it. I didn't play. Really? I never played Gorka Morka because they hated it after playtesting it, and they were sort of the people that I would play this stuff with.
Okay.
So a lot of Blood Bowl, a lot of Warhammer, but Gorka Morka is a very sore spot for me.
Oh.
So please don't. I realise I brought it up, but please don't bring up Gorka Morka.
Maybe one day as a surprise at Kwalee, we'll all play together.
Imagine if I could just play it, and I'll be like, "Oh, this is rubbish."
It'd be like,
they did me a favour. Yeah.
But it's interesting talking about Blood Bowl, right?
Blood Bowl,
yeah. I sort of friends a long time ago wanted to play that as well. But Warhammer and things like this, have you ever been into that side of things, of the painting and...
Yeah. I got into the painting mainly because the crazy overlap between the crowd that I was hanging around with many years in wrestling, and painting minis and playing games like Warhammer. There's a big nerdy overlap in those two in that Venn diagram. So I was painting armies, enjoying the painting and stuff a lot more so even than the playing. But Blood Bowl was something that really got me. So Blood Bowl is like Warhammer universe, but it's this American football game.
Yeah.
And it's very much a video game. Like it is just it's literally a grid,
Yeah.
moving your pieces throughout a grid, and each turn is a puzzle. I don't know if you've ever played Into the Breach.
No.
It's a phenomenal game, but it's very much Blood Bowl. It's this this limited space, this limited grid. You've got certain units. There's a limited number of things you can do in this turn. You can move this person, this person, this person. They can all attack. And you know for a fact that every single turn you can do the optimal, but there's a million different ways it could go.
Right.
So it's really about these little micro puzzles, just these not super expansive. We're not talking lots of spreadsheets to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's very limited, very manageable, and I love that stuff. And that's very much been the through line of the games that have really grabbed me when it comes to video games and board games.
Okay. Right, let's take this all the way back, and we'll eventually end up here at Kwalee. So, at 7, I was reading, and please fill in the gaps. You were forced to go and say hello to the neighbours.
What? Where did you get this?
Yeah, all the information. So you went to visit the neighbours, and then you saw them playing the NES Super Mario.
Oh God, yeah. Okay,
and that was sort of like the spark for you.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Like it's imagine a caveman discovering the internet. Like it was just unbelievable. My eyes just following this cable from this controller back and forth to the TV, just trying to understand how they're possibly controlling the television. All I remember is feeling like nothing else mattered. Like this is the medium for me. This is everything that I want. I want to sit there. I want to be engrossed. I want to forget the world exists, and I want to dive into experiences like this. It was just, yeah, absolutely life changing. And then from that point onwards, I had the luxury of 2 older brothers who bought every console, every game, and so just via osmosis, I was absorbing all this stuff. Some of my favorite memories are actually watching them play. My brother Andrew played the hell out of Final Fantasy VII when it came out, and I remember every disc swap. It was such an exciting moment for me.
We have a big fan in the room as well.
Final Fantasy VII. I've never played it. I've watched my brother play it all the way through. I've played Final Fantasy VIII, but I don't believe I would get anything more out of playing Final Fantasy VII than I got watching my brother. It was such a cool experience.
Do you still do that now? Watch games? Are you in the Twitch world and things like that?
Not at all. Like I'm one of those people that will sit there and be like, what? Why are you wasting your time watching someone else play a game you could play? And yet, one of my fondest memories was watching my brother play Final Fantasy. No, I mean, I get it in principle, but I think it's more with how busy I am. When I do have free time, the idea of spending that watching someone play, I don't think I can convince myself that that's a valuable enough use of my time. When I could be trying to find an experience that will draw me in, that I can play and get hands on with.
Cool. Okay, so moving into teenage years. You mentioned you had your sort of wrestling friends who sort of did cross over into the nerdier side of things. Yeah. Was that the same all the way through secondary school? Did you have those friends, or did you have to go out to find them?
Wrestling was everything. So from the age of 11, 12, I started wrestling training, all the way through to my mid-20s. Like my people were the different crowds in wrestling, and I was traveling around the whole country and working with people from all over the place. So this was my social circle. I had my own training school as well in my hometown in Rugby. So we had a constant mass of people coming through that school, making new friends, and it was always a really good atmosphere. And there was always a lot of crossover with video games, with board games, with Warhammer, things like that.
Talk to me about then the wrestling academy that you started, Impact.
Yes, right? Impact Wrestling Academy.
Are you still running that now?
Oh, hell no. No, I'm a broken human being. I couldn't possibly, like, it would be career suicide. I'd be in a wheelchair by next week. No, so even before that, my brothers and I started the Wrestling Association of Rugby. This was a wrestling federation, a wrestling show that we put on in our hometown of Rugby. We put it on like every 3 months, pretty much. And it's so irresponsible. This is all it takes. But we found someone with a wrestling ring. We booked a hall with no insurance, and just went ahead and put the ring in. Told some people about it, and tried to put on some wrestling. And this was back in 2011. And then after a few years of doing this and starting with no crowd and starting to build up a reliable audience, we then decided, well, let's run a training school. We want to do this more regularly. So my brothers kicked that off, and then at the point where where they sort of wanted to take a back seat. They were still wrestling, but they wanted to take a back seat from promoting.
Yeah.
I then stepped in and created the Impact Wrestling Academy. So a new school, new facility, new new mats, new gear. And we ran that for a good few years, where every week in, week out, we would have our core set of 20 trainees, and these would fuel our shows. So not only would they provide new talent who could get a sort of their first go on the scene at the Wrestling Association of Rugby, which then has led to them going off and doing things as big as working in WWE.
Wow.
But it means that they have a regular, constant training regime, which will feed them into little feds around the country. So Impact Wrestling Academy, that was such a good time. As far as like my wrestling career goes, that was by far the best time that I had. I love being my character. I love cutting like promos. I love shouting at a crowd. I love feeling the energy of the crowd and pushing it back and just trying to manipulate that energy as best I can. Secondary to that, I love training. The actual wrestling was the worst bit, because that was me stressing out about perfecting it. I'm a very anxious person, and what that translates to in my work life is that I'm very good at being on top of things, and although I struggle to let go a little bit because I'm a bit of a control freak, it makes me good at what I do. And in wrestling, it made me pretty good at what I did there, but it led to a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. I remember the transition over the years where all the people that I was wrestling with over the 15 years that I did it, by the end, when their music hit and they were behind the curtain, just no emotion, just fine, just get ready and go through the curtain and do it. But I consistently was just nerves. Every single wrestling match, every single show, nerves. This has got to be perfect. Thinking about how I'm going to move my arm 7 minutes into the match when I do that thing where I stand up in the corner, like just really just trying to present myself in the perfect way. And so I loved watching that stuff back, but all of the stuff around the wrestling was the stuff that really appealed to me. I essentially had zero ambition professionally. Like I was a little bit lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'd just sort of come out of wrestling and stopped wrestling mainly because I'd lost the passion because of the stress that I consistently felt doing the actual shows. And so I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And the sort of cliche QA team member story, I just suddenly got this realization that this is a career. Like there's potentially a career in games. The thing that has consistently entertained me and pulled me in throughout my entire childhood. And I fortunately knew someone who was already working at Codemasters in QA. They got me in, and that was that. I was the first after I think it was 3 months. I was the first person in a couple of years at Cody's to be taken from a temporary contract to a full-time contract, which was just obviously a huge show of confidence in me. And that was it. Like suddenly, just like wrestling, I felt proud of the fact that I was being given opportunities. In wrestling, I was getting phone calls, can you come to our show? Can you come to our show? And just, that's the reason I did it as long as I did. I felt like I was good at something. And I got the same feeling out of QA. Like it motivated me and gave me so much energy to do as many hours as they needed me to do, because this is where I'm valuable. I wanted to just feel that value.
Is that what you look for when you hire someone? The same attitude that you had?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing for me is humility. Like the thing that I was desperate to show the whole time was that I'm new to this and I'm just desperate to learn. When you could be the greatest programmer, the greatest artist in the world, but you are of no value to me if you can't show humility and be someone that other people are attracted to and want to work with. Like you can be fantastic, but the second you create a rift in a team, the second you cause conflict, the second you make someone not want to go over and make the effort with you, everything breaks down. It impacts everything so negatively that it just isn't worth the trade-off.
It's interesting, in the acting world, they say 80% of the audition is when you walk through the door, and if people think, I'd have a beer with him. The 20% is the talent after that, but you want to work with those people for a long time.
Exactly. And you know that what you're seeing is not what you're going to end up with. You're going to have to especially in acting, I imagine, you're going to have to work with this person and mold them to find a compromise that works for everybody. And you don't want to do that with someone who's just an absolute dick.
Yeah, you just can't work with those people. No. Right, so I saw a lot of pictures on social media and I heard about this, your gaming cave. Can I
Sure.
call it gaming
Oh,
cave?
sure, yeah. I mean, garage. It sounds better than garage. So
Garage.
go for it.
So talk to me a little bit about what's in there. Maybe take me around the room and why it's important to you. Because I know you sort of collect these sort of retro games, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll talk you around it, and then I'll disappoint you. So, I've got shelving units with like custom made placards at the top that show off the console. So I've got Sega Master System. I've got pretty much a complete collection. I think I'm about 15 shy.
Okay.
Imagine these like black IKEA units, just wall to wall. It's like a blockbuster,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
I've got Mega Drive, so 2 units of Mega Drive games, which is I've got the same amount as I have Master System, but that's about half the Mega Drive collection. There was so many goddamn Mega Drive games. I've got a single shelf of NES games, Nintendo games. I've got 2 shelves of SNES games, and then 2 shelves of N64 games, which is just the best. Like N64, that is, as far as my memory is, like my earliest memory, obviously, of the NES, but the time that I actually sat and indulged the most was N64.
Right.
What a console.
Yeah.
And then you turn around 180, and I've got 2 sick arcade machines. I've got Jambo Safari, which if you haven't played it, you should play. It's phenomenal. It's like a stand-up safari game where you've got a steering wheel and you've got to control to throw like a rope around animals, and then you've got to try and hold on to them as it's superb.
Yeah.
And then a 2-seater Star Wars pod racing arcade cab. So
someone
2
mentioned
people,
this. That's so cool.
Yeah, that's just the jewel.
Yeah.
And I have a glass cabinet with some really rare titles in there as well. Some things that were only released, actually something that was only released in Blockbuster, which was in America, which was the Flintstones NES game, something at Dinosaur Peak.
Right.
But it's very rare game. Very lucky to get hold of that. So the disappointing bit, is going to be that I've sort of lost interest.
Oh,
a little bit, just a little bit. So like I collected these things because it was a fun thing to do at car boot sales, essentially.
Right.
Like I went to car boot sales and people were selling box loads of these things for pennies at the time that I collected them, and they just the nostalgia for me. It's just it's awesome. It's so awesome having all of these games. So I was just collecting stuff as I could, refusing to pay big prices for anything. I was paying pennies for everything. And after about 3 years of collecting, that's basically what I have now. It just became impossible to get because people were just understanding the value of these things. So scalpers were everywhere, and people were running around car boot sales as fast as they could, asking everybody like, "Have you got any games? Got any games?" And it just suddenly I wasn't interested.
Right.
So that collection I have represents 3 years of me trying to find as much as I could for cheap because I loved the collection and I love standing in that room. That really is. I don't play any of it because, truth be told, 95% of old games are pretty shit. But I do love standing there and just taking in the glory of all of these things and just thinking about the developers that made them, looking through the old school manuals that not only have got tips and tricks and all of the stuff you need to play, but have got credits at the back, and going through a Micro Machines manual and seeing Andrew Graham's name, the guy who now works on my team. Unbelievable.
It's like being in an old library. And you get that like soaking in.
Exactly. There's just so much history. It's unbelievable. And also the fact that I picked them all up from car boot sales and different things, just thinking about how many hands these things have been in, how many people have played and enjoyed these games, the amount of them that have got scrawled bits of paper tucked into the front with cheat codes and like level selection codes. It's fantastic. But I am getting to the point where I'm questioning the use of the space and thinking like I'm basically enjoying it because I know how cool it is. Right. I'm not playing these things. I'm just not. So I'm toying with going to the Kwalee Slack channel and being like, anyone want to buy 8,000 video games?
It's end of an era.
I know. I'm going to regret it instantly, but I think it's the mature thing to do, and I hear that's a thing that people are supposed to do when they grow up.
When they grow up,
that's what.
Do we ever grow up though?
Well, we'll soon find out. Because if I start crying as soon as I've sold off my collection, then.
So where have you moved on to now then? So you sort of had this collection of games. You enjoyed the nostalgia and things like this. Where does your gaming lie at the moment? What are you into?
So I'm sort of chasing the dragon. I'm trying to get the hit of something that captures me. I find in modern day gaming, it's so unfortunate that you rarely hit these groundbreaking moments of feeling like we've taken there's a game mechanic that's never been explored, or there's just an idea with a twist. Everything's so derivative, and it's the space we live in, and the technology means that it's very hard to make a significant jump. I remember Shadows of Mordor, a game a few years back, and they had the Nemesis system, which was this just really cool dynamic system that made you feel like you were having an impact on this hierarchy of enemies. And that's the last time that I've really felt that sense of, finally something new.
Yeah.
And so I'm sort of chasing that. I'm playing Starfield at the moment.
Yeah.
Just trying to let myself go into a world. And soak it in. But yeah, I'm an Xbox player. I don't really play on PC, so I'm just relying on Games Pass these days to just throw things at me and let's see what sticks.
Starfield and sort of games like that, for me, when I play them, it's almost like I'm chasing that Oblivion feeling again.
Yeah, exactly.
It's continually.
And I struggle so much with big games like that. I'm so rarely in the headspace to be able to give it the time that it needs. And so I typically bounce off them. And then something like Starfield comes along and I'm going to bash at it as many times as I need to get sucked in, because I know that there's something in there for me, just because I know their games.
Yeah.
And I talk to people and like-minded people, but I'm really enjoying it. It definitely hurts coming off the back of like No Man's Sky, where you have the freedom of space travel, and Starfield is suddenly, oh no, it is just this is what games are supposed to be. They're just these little, isolated locations and little bubbles of experiences.
Yeah.
Games like No Man's Sky, which to be fair is another one of those moments that was like, wow, this is really, really neat.
Yeah.
They ruin it for everything. They ruin it for everybody, because now suddenly if I can't get in my ship and take off and seamlessly go and land on another planet, it feels like, oh, come on, this is...
Yeah, I should be able to.
Exactly, this is so 3 years ago.
What about MMOs then? Have you gone into any of those?
I played a bit of World of Warcraft for like a couple of years, but that was, again, me just feeling like I should. Right? This is like, it's such a big conversation, I should. And that was definitely me trying to force enjoyment into that game, because although I'm up for the grind, I think the turn-based, time-based combat stuff just isn't for me. I seem to always bounce off things like that, unless it's live action combat. It's one of the things that turns me away from Final Fantasy games. The old school, at least, the turn-based combat.
Yeah. It's interesting though, sort of you working on mobile games where turn-based combat is there's so many especially in the casual space. Casual hardcore as well. From what you've worked on, what is the thing that excites you about mobile games? I know you were part of some of the biggest games here that have been released. What was it when those games came through that you were like, yeah, this is it?
It's accessibility. Like we didn't realize at the time, but it's the whole justification for games on mobile. It's so easy to fall into it. Let's talk about Starfield. The main reason that I'm struggling with Starfield is because while I'm sat there, I know that there's Royal Kingdom on my phone right there. I could pick up and I could blast through some of that so easily. I don't have to think. Like it's that accessibility. When we made, going back a bit, Go Fish and Plank, it's games where on paper you'd say that's too simple to work, but you get it in your hands and it's very hard to stop.
Right.
It's accessibility mixed with that little dopamine hit, but a little dopamine hit with the promise of more to come.
Yeah,
it just keeps you coming back and back and back and back. So this is why Kwalee succeeded. It was all R&D. It was all find the fun. This might be fun. Let's build it within a day, a couple of days. Let's get it in our hands, and we'll be the judge, because we're a team full of gamers. We're a team full of people who are playing so much stuff every day that we're going to immediately bounce off things that have no potential.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Okay. So this is the wrestling / old school arcade game quiz.
Okay.
Question 1. So let's start from the beginning. The very first arcade game was released in 1971. What was it called? Was it A, Computer Space, B, Pong, or C, Galaxian?
I'm going to go with Pong.
Are you sure?
Oh, God. I mean, it's not fair for changing my mind now.
No. So it is Computer Space.
Okay.
I don't even know what that is.
You should have done your research. I want to know now.
I
want to play Computer Space.
We'll put up some graphic of computer space now.
Let's assume what it is. Computer space. First video game. It's going to be
some.
You're a pixel floating around somehow,
and you have to dodge obstacles.
Yeah.
Like a Space Invaders type of thing.
Sure. Yeah. Scrolling screen. We should be game designers.
Yeah. If we're correct, I'll put a ping and a
if we're
thumbs
correct,
up.
I want the point.
Okay, fine.
I think that's fair.
Well, okay. Question 2. High score leaderboards introduced an addictively competitive element to arcade games, with gamers coming back week after week to try and gain or maintain a legendary top score status. Of course, we all love this. What was the first arcade game to feature a leaderboard? Was it A, Space Invaders, B, Pac-Man, or C, Asteroids?
So it wasn't a Kwalee game then?
Unfortunately.
Okay. No. My knowledge really is around Kwalee games. It's like if you ask me about Kwalee games, boy, howdy am I going to score big.
Yeah. I mean...
it's got to be Asteroids. I said it's got to be Asteroids, which means that
it must be.
It must be.
Space Invaders.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Just for the record, I was born in 1986, right? So
I just saw your massive collection of games, and Anyway, moving forward. Question 3. One of the most iconic video game characters of all time, the insatiable Pac-Man, is on a mission to gobble up as many dots as possible.
No, you're going to ask me the names of the
No, not the names. How many ghosts is he after?
Frankie.
What are they after?
Is this multiple choice?
Yes.
How sick.
4, 5, or 6. Does that even help?
Yeah, it's 4.
Oh, yeah.
Hey.
There we are. Claps.
Peter, that's all I need.
Absolutely.
We can stop there. All right. Good to see you.
We need to get into wrestling, yeah. This one I think you'll know because of things I've seen.
Okay.
Question 4. Do smartphone games count as video games?
Oh, come on, you can't. That's a subjective.
And then the answer is, of course. What is the number 1 most downloaded mobile game of all time? Is it A, Pokemon Go, B, Angry Birds, or C, Candy Crush?
Oof. I mean...
I gave a little clue when I said, I think you might know this.
Well, yeah, I mean, that implies Pokemon Go. But like, I'd be surprised because Candy Crush has got obviously so many years on it. Pokemon Go.
Correct.
Hey.
Talk to me about Pokemon Go.
Okay.
Tell me, so has been etched in my memory of when I first downloaded it and played it with hundreds of people in a park in Pennsylvania.
How cool was that?
Oh my goodness.
That moment where it just came out and everyone just decided to...
You would walk down the street and people would have their phone in their hand and you sort of like do a little nod. As everyone going their morning route.
To be fair, I was more ashamed. I was more like pretending like I'm texting somebody just in case, you know.
See, we all knew who the Pokemon leaders, who the gym leaders were. We knew the people because we were that... There's basically this park in Pennsylvania where, in Scranton actually, the office.
Sick.
Where there was 3 of those laws that people put on and they overlapped. So you would sit in the middle. And everyone would sit there till like 4 a.m. It was in the summer and it was so hot. I think in the US came out a bit earlier. And we'd play a lot. So we saw everyone and then we knew we're going after you. And there was a Snorlax in one gym on the middle of a roundabout. People would park their cars up and it was wild. But no, tell me about where it was for you.
It's such a shame that it's now lost that. And of course it was going to. That initial sense of, oh my God, there's a Charizard over here. Everybody run and get this chat. Like now that they've sort of released all the Pokemon, or at least all of them in the generations they've got, like that's gone. And now it's people at the ceiling waiting for new releases and then gobbling them up and then waiting for new releases. But it was, what a magical time. So Pokemon is something that I've had a weird experience with Pokemon. I got it when it first came out on the Game Boy and I fell in love, mainly because people at school did as well. And so the idea of sort of pre-big internet usage, lots of conversational discoveries around the game. The trading aspect obviously was huge. Actually, going back a tiny bit, I went to Toys R Us with my brother took me to Toys R Us to spend all the money I had on Pokemon. And I did. And I bought Pokemon Red. And then we went next door to the arcade and I had £1 left. So I played Silent Scope. Don't know if you played that. Arcade game with a sniper rifle was sick. And then we got back in the car and we drove off, and I realized, oh God, I've left Pokemon in there. Went back, it was gone.
No.
So somebody, and of course they're going to be watching this, because why wouldn't they? Give me back that's worth quite a lot of money now. Give me back my Pokemon Red. That's mine.
Yeah.
You took it. You saw it on Silent Scope. You picked it up, and you didn't think, this belongs to you. You took it. You're a dick.
Yeah, dick.
You hear me? You're a dick.
Or find them.
We best find them. That's it. That's your mission now.
You put it in our game subliminal message, or just a pop up.
It takes a picture of you, and if you look guilty, it sends it to me.
Yeah. We don't actually do that.
Okay, so anyway,
yeah.
Then I asked my brother to lend me the money to get the coffee, and he refused. Which, fair enough. It sucks, but fair enough. And so then I had to save up again and buy it again. So I was late to the party. Anyway, fell in love with it.
So did you get red though still, or did you get the yellow, the blue?
I got yellow actually. I didn't get it again until yellow came out, and I got yellow.
For me, that was the best one because you could have all of the starters, right? And then Pikachu
following you as well, which is just sick. And then interestingly, I didn't pick up Gold and Silver, and I didn't play another Pokemon game until Sword and Shield. Wow. So very recently.
Yeah.
And since then, I'm obsessed. I'll play everything. So I played Pokemon Go when it came out because it was the original 151, the Pokemon I cared about. Yeah. But I was adamant, I don't care about all those other ones, the trash bag Pokemon, the chain of keys Pokemon. Screw that, it's not my Pokemon.
Yeah.
But then Pokemon Go did it. They just, as they started introducing more, it's I've got I've got 151. I've got to go get the rest. And I've played every day for many years now.
You've played every day?
Every day.
You still play?
Yeah, it's an actual problem. I'm playing right now.
Can you not see?
No, I play every day.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I send help. Oh God, you're judging me. You actually are.
No,
no, you are. You actually. There was concern there. That wasn't.
I can't talk. I can't talk because we came up to the studio earlier, and my phone fell on the floor, and you looked at it, and you were like, "You're playing Summoner's War," and I was like, "As always, every day, all
How
day."
much money have you put into Summoner's War?
0. I actually started a YouTube channel based on the fact that I'm free to play, but as good as paid players, and it got quite successful because of it. That's why I'm here at Kwalee, because of that channel. Oh. Anyway,
okay. Sorry. Let me interview you. So someone.
Oh dear. Every day. Interesting. Wow. Do you go?
You say interesting. What I hear through the translation is loser.
No. I'm as much in the nerds zone as those. But do you go on then walks, and do you do that sort of? Yeah,
sure do. I mean, but I'm very much a solo player. Again, that attitude I had when it first came out, where I was just almost ashamed because it's again, I only played it when I was a child, really. Pokemon. When Pokemon Go came out, that was me being like, oh, nostalgia from 1990.
Yeah.
And so I was feeling like this is a kid's game that I need to sort of keep on the down low. And I still sort of feel that. So I play solo. I do everything I can to not have to meet up and do. I'm an introverted person as it goes anyway. So
that's what
I'm soloing this active, everybody's playing game, and every community day. So every month they do this community days where there's a bunch of hours where there's Pokemon everywhere, and there's a higher chance of shinies, which is sort of the rare version ones. And so I'm out every month doing those, just walking around a park, looping with hundreds of people still there. Every single time.
Wow.
It is still insanely huge.
I need to check this out then, because I remember
it's very different from everybody being like, well, I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
But it is big.
Because it was that at the beginning, everyone give it a go. I remember we were doing the Scottish play. I won't utter the name here. But
hot potato.
Yeah. But we were in the wings. It's a very serious, dark play. And I can see across the wing someone trying to catch a Squirtle or something. It got to be a real problem, actually. But I
remember signs in certain shops and schools that's just don't catch Pokemon here. Oh, and people complaining as well. Just kids keep hanging outside my house, and it's well, you got a Pokestop outside your house. I don't know what to tell you. What?
We used to do the thing, and you probably, now knowing this, you probably did this too. If we would catch loads of Pidgeys, and there was a way of you level loads at the same time, so you'd level up really quickly. So because they were so easy to level, and they gave you XP when you leveled them.
I have no knowledge of this. Okay. No knowledge of this whatsoever. I grinded like a pro.
So I'm a spreadsheet guy, so that's probably why.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Min-max.
Yeah. I mean, you played Diablo Immortals for a while. did you? Or for like a day
very
or
short
two?
while.
I mean, we all did for like a day or
yeah,
two.
that's another
Yeah.
experience of like I want to be in the zeitgeist. I want to enjoy this with everybody else,
Yeah.
but yeah, it just wasn't for me. I've never understood Diablo. Like Diablo 3, I tried pretty recently to get into, and I just bounced off of it. I want to give Diablo 4 a go.
It's a little shallow, but you may like it.
I mean, I think that's what I need. Like I definitely need the accessibility of everything else. It's why mobile games are just the perfect go-to for me, because it's just boil everything down to something that's designed to give me an experience that's as long or as short as I want it to be.
Yeah.
Something that will get me in quickly, not feeling stupid, not feeling like I'm having to jump through hoops in order to understand the multitude of mechanics.
Yeah.
And this is, I mean, hyper casual is just, I love working in hyper casual games. Like I absolutely loved all of the time we spent, because it was Wild West. It was, the user base is so huge that we can justify trying everything, and we're so quick to build something. We can just throw loads of stuff at the wall. And it still is with hybrid. It's still just this awesome pot of bubbling creativity.
Yeah. Right. So let's move on now to Kwalee. So you have, I mean, you've worked your way from QA testing to now head of
Development.
That journey, what was that like for you in terms of, did you see it as I'm now stepping up and moving forward, or is it like I'm enjoying this so much and now more responsibility is coming on the plate and I'm enjoying it even more?
So much like coming out of school, I really struggled with ambition. Like I was just content if I felt like I had a place.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in QA at Codemasters, and I just loved it. I loved life. It was the happiest I think I've ever been, because I was feeling useful. I was suddenly part of this great industry that I've always loved. And I was really good at it. I was really, really good. And I was just so hungry for more and more and more. That being said, I didn't ever consider ambitions past that. I didn't consider management. I wasn't career focused. I just was, happy and content. And truth be told, the only reason that I ended up getting another position was because one month we didn't get paid on payday, and there were rumors about Cody's being in financial trouble.
Yeah.
And the reaction from everyone in the QA team was to start looking for jobs, just freak out.
Yeah.
And so in turn, I applied for one position. It was a QA manager position in London that I was completely unqualified for.
Right.
I went, did one interview, and I got it like on the spot.
Wow.
So suddenly I went from doing like essentially bottom of the barrel QA work in Codemasters to suddenly being trusted on the basis of one interview with an entire QA team. And that was a huge experience for me. So it was out of necessity, or a feeling of necessity of maybe I'm going to lose my job, that I applied. And then suddenly I was in this position of power and authority. I had the ability to make positive change, and I started thinking about the stuff I never thought about at Codemasters, which is what could be better, what could be more efficient. Mm-hmm. And then that's sort of what sparked it. I started caring more about the people around me, the efficiency of everything, making sure that things were optimal, seeing the holes and thinking, God, I wish that could be better. I wouldn't run things that way. I wish it could be better.
Yeah.
And then when I got to Kwalee, that's the crazy acceleration of my role from QA manager into a producer, into head of development. That was all because I just so desperately wanted the company to succeed. Yeah. And I thought that if, instead of just being this quiet little do my job voice, if I can convince people that I'm worth having in the right meetings and worth having in the discussions about how we grow and how we do better, that I can bring actual positive change. So again, it's just another aspect where I could feel proud of myself of adding value.
Yeah.
And a huge testament to David, who he gives back 100%. The only reason I am where I am is because when I was a producer, I was designing, I taught myself programming, I was designing and prototyping the games that ended up being the money-making hits here at Kwalee. And because I was adding value that way, David was like, why shouldn't you be in charge? Why shouldn't you be given more? And that's, I mean, I've never encountered that in business. Someone who is just almost having to convince me of like, you're the one doing all the good things. You should be.
Mark of a good manager, right?
Yeah, I mean,
he sees that.
It's great, and that's the through line that I've held, is surround yourself with people who either know better than you do, or are just better at a certain remit than you are, and give them trust. Make sure you hire the right people, and then and give them trust.
So if you could tell yourself 12 plus years ago when you started this career, this experience of gaming, working in the games industry, what would you tell yourself there as advice?
Probably buy Bitcoin. Apple's going to do all right.
Yeah. Tesla will have a spike.
Tesla. Yeah.
But in terms of work.
Oh, I see. God, yeah. I think I would have said to have more ambition. I think that I too late, and again, just all triggered from this fear of losing my job, decided that I can be more than what I currently am. I just didn't have any confidence, and I was getting little nuggets of confidence as people were telling me I was good at my job, and it was such a new, scary space. It's a job I didn't know existed, and then learning the intricacies of QA. QA is something so often overlooked. It's one of the things I'm most proud of here is the fact that because I've come from QA, my head of production also came from QA. We have such a respect for the way that they should work, and the difference between a bare bones entry level QA and someone who really is on the ball is just night and day. We have a senior lead here, Joseph, who is just unbelievable. He's just the middleman of everything. He knows everything. He's on top of everything. He's just one of those people you can trust. You can throw something at in passing and just know for a fact it's going to get handled.
Yeah.
And it's someone that can be the glue that keeps everything together. I've forgotten what the question was. What would I say to myself?
Well, ambition.
Yeah. So it would be ambition. It would be like you can do more. You can push a bit more. Because I was happy to just stay in the shadows, do my job, do it well.
The bug machine.
Yeah,
that's what they called
exactly. It was so good. Like there was literally a pie chart every morning that everyone saw of who put in the most bugs, and I had to be top of that every single day. Like I would kill myself to make sure. And it's ridiculous. I mean, I don't agree with. That's something that we wouldn't do here. Judge someone based on the number of the bugs, but they absolutely did at Cody's because it's the way they do when you've got lots of people coming in and going out, coming in and going out. It's the way they encourage, and I suppose it worked for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean. Quality over quantity is the way it should be. But no, I had to be the biggest chunk of that pie chart, and everyone needed to know it.
Yeah.
Actually, probably the proudest moment of my entire career was at Codemasters. There was an email sent to everybody in the QA department, and the title of it was Simon Platt's Bugs. And I was over at one of the lead's desks, and he patted me on the shoulder and was like, "Oh, good work on that email." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, check your emails. So I ran back to my desk. I just see that title, Simon Platt's Bugs, and I just shit myself. Like it is the work. Like I assume what's underneath is like for some reason someone deciding to publicly shame me for my bugs. But no, it was an email to the entire QA team that said the quality of Simon Platt's bugs are so good. Like this should be the thing that everyone aims to be. They went through a bug that I logged where I'd just done a lot of the research. I'd taken the camera out and figured out exactly what happened, and they said like, this is something that we had in the last game. A developer spent 3 months trying to figure out what it was and never solved it. Simon Platt's managed to do it in like a day. Like this is exactly the sort of, and like that was the moment where like I suddenly got motivated to like do more. Half the team hated me for that day, as you can imagine, but
there's always a bit of that.
It was so good.
Simon, well, thank you for coming on today. I really do appreciate it. When I talk to people outside of sort of the mobile team and even people within the team, it's only positive things and how you've helped the company so much, and we are where we are today because of your massive inputs, as you mentioned, being in those rooms. So I appreciate your work and I appreciate you coming on here. For everyone else, like and subscribe as always. And any last words for those folks out there?
Just want to point out that even if what you said wasn't true, it's not like you're going to sit here and say everyone thinks you're a dick. So, but thank you. It's been a hell of a ride.
Yeah. Well, here we are. I mean, you need to get back to Pokemon Go. So
I really do. There's a number of raids that I've missed out on this hour.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
And till next time. Bye-bye.